So I want to know what I'm talking about. So the first one I wrote here is the importance of choices. Every choice has a consequence, whether it's a good one or a bad one. Okay? I teach my kids that they're going to pay the consequences, not me, not their mom, not the neighbor. Whatever they do, there's a consequence and they're going to pay for it, no one else. I teach them to make thoughtful decisions, to think about it, to avoid making impulse actions. A lot of the times and this is something I teach my kids, as I tell them, focus on the facts, not the feelings. Okay? I tell them, focus on the facts, not the feelings. Because a lot of the times when we focus on the feeling, we make these impulse actions, we make these impulse decisions that later on we're paying for, or later on we're finding out like, man, I reacted in a way that I shouldn't have reacted. It was just a feeling. Now that feeling is gone, but now I still have to deal with the consequence of what I said, of what I did, because of my feeling. you know so the number one thing is the importance of choices. I teach them that every choice has a consequence. It could be a good one, it can be a blessing, or it can be a bad one, it can be a curse. And I tell them that they're the ones that are going to deal with the consequence, no one else. Okay. Number two, I teach them personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. Taking responsibility for your actions instead of blaming others. I grew up blaming others. I grew up blaming my environment. I grew up blaming the streets, the gang. I grew up blaming everything but myself. And I thought that I was getting away with it. And I thought that those excuses were good and enough for me to be that person that I was, but I wasn't taking responsibility for my actions. I wasn't actually blaming myself for the person that I wanted to be. When in fact, I wanted to be that person. I wanted to break the law. I wanted to be that type of person, you know. So I teach my kids to be, personally, to be a person of responsibility, personal responsibility. And it's a blessing. You don't know. I mean, it's such a blessing because something can happen in my house, something can break, and my kids are honest, dude. They don't hide it. They don't hide it. They don't, and, you know, it speaks a lot about them. First of all, because they understand that they have loving parents and that we're gonna deal with it accordingly. But they don't hide anything. They make themselves responsible, and sometimes it's shocking, honestly.